I was standing in my bathroom at 2 a.m., staring at the bruise spreading across my collarbone when I finally admitted what I'd been denying for 3 years. This wasn't love. This was destruction, and I had to get out before it killed me. Victor was asleep in our bed, snoring peacefully, as if he hadn't slammed me into the wall 4 hours earlier, as if he hadn't wrapped his hands around my throat until I saw stars, as if this was just another Tuesday in our marriage. I looked at myself in the mirror, really looked, and I didn't recognize the woman staring back. She had dark circles under her eyes, shoulders that curved inward like she was trying to disappear, a hollowness in her gaze that used to hold so much light. Where had I gone? How had I let this happen? And the question that haunted me most, why did I stay? Victor swept me off my feet. I was 27, recovering from a string of disappointing relationships, questioning whether God had someone for me at all. Then Victor walked into my church one Sunday, visiting from out of town, and everything changed. He was magnetic, tall, confident, with a smile that made you feel chosen. He pursued me with an intensity I'd never experienced. Flowers, phone calls, handwritten letters about how God had led him to me. "I've been praying for you my whole life," he told me on our third date. "I didn't know your name, but I knew your face. And when I saw you in that church, I knew you were my wife." It sounds alarming now. At the time, it felt like destiny. We dated for 6 months, long distance, which meant I only saw the best of him. The attentive phone calls, the romantic visits, the future he painted in vivid colors. When he proposed, I said yes without hesitation. When he suggested I move to his city after the wedding, I agreed. When he mentioned that it would be easier if I didn't work for the first year, just while we're getting established, I complied. I didn't see the cage being built around me. I just thought he wanted to take care of me. The first sign came on our honeymoon. I wore a sundress to dinner. Nothing provocative, just something pretty for our romantic evening. Victor's face went cold the moment he saw me. "You're not wearing that." "What? Why?" "It's too revealing. Other men will look at you. Is that what you want, for men to stare at my wife?" I changed, told myself he was just protective, that it was sweet really how much he cared. That was the first compromise of many. Over the next year, Victor slowly dismantled everything I was. He criticized my friends until I stopped seeing them. He monitored my phone calls, my texts, my social media. He questioned every purchase, at every errand, every moment I spent outside his sight. "I'm not controlling you," he'd say when I pushed back. "I'm protecting you. The world is dangerous and you're too naive to see it." And then the criticism turned personal. My cooking wasn't good enough. My cleaning wasn't thorough enough. I wasn't affectionate enough, spiritual enough, grateful enough. Nothing I did satisfied him, and his disappointment became a constant weight on my chest. I stopped wearing makeup because he said it meant I was trying to attract other men. I stopped calling my family because he said they poisoned me against him. I stopped going to church because he said the pastor looked at me inappropriately. By the end of year 1, I was completely isolated. Just me and Victor in a house that felt more like a prison every day. He didn't hit me until our anniversary. I'd planned a special dinner, made his favorite meal, set the table with candles and flowers, put on a dress he'd bought me, modest, approved, safe. But I'd forgotten to pick up his dry cleaning. "You had one job," he said, his voice dangerously quiet. "One simple job, and you couldn't even do that." "I'm sorry, I forgot. I was so focused on dinner." Excuses. Always excuses. I saw his hand rise, but my brain couldn't process what was happening until his palm connected with my cheek. The force knocked me sideways, and I crashed into the dining table, sending candles and plates shattering to the floor. I stared at him, hand pressed to my burning face, too shocked to speak. His expression shifted immediately. Horror, then panic, then tears. Baby, I'm so sorry. I don't know what came over me. You know I never hurt you. It was an accident. Please, please forgive me. It'll never happen again. He held me while I cried, made promises, prayed with me about breaking this spirit of anger, quoted scripture about forgiveness and covering each other's sins. And I believed him. I wanted so desperately to believe that this was an aberration, not a pattern. It happened again 3 weeks later, and again, and again. Each time followed the same script: his violence, his remorse, his promises, my forgiveness. A cycle that tightened around me like a noose. People always ask that question: why didn't you leave? Let me tell you why. Because I was embarrassed. Because I told everyone we were blessed, we were happy, we were living God's love story. How could I admit I'd been wrong? Because I was isolated. No job, no savings, no friends within 1,000 miles. Victor controlled everything, including whether I could afford a bus ticket out of town. Because I believed him when he said it was my fault. That if I were a better wife, he wouldn't lose his temper. That I triggered him. That I needed to be more submissive, more patient, more understanding. Because my church taught that marriage was permanent, that divorce was sin, that a godly wife stood by her husband through anything. And I thought leaving meant failing God, because I was afraid of what he'd do if I tried. He never said he'd kill me. He didn't have to. The threat lived in the tightening of his fists, the cold fury in his eyes, the way he'd say, "You'll never find anyone else. No one would want you. I'm the best you'll ever have." So I stayed. For 3 years, I stayed in a house that was slowly killing me. The night I stood in that bathroom, looking at the bruise spreading across my collarbone, something finally broke. Not my spirit. That had been broken for years. Something else. The lie I'd been telling myself. He's going to change. He's going to get better. If I just pray harder, love harder, submit harder, God will fix this. But God's voice cut through the darkness with sudden clarity. I'm not asking you to die for this man. I'm asking you to live. I realized in that moment that I'd been confusing martyrdom with obedience, that staying in a situation that was destroying me wasn't faithfulness. It was suicide by inches. God didn't put me on this earth to be someone's punching bag, and divorce, in this situation, wasn't sin. It was survival. Leaving an abuser isn't as simple as packing a bag. It took me 2 months to plan. I secretly contacted a domestic violence hotline. They helped me create a safety plan, set up a secret bank account, identify resources in my hometown. I waited until Victor left for a business trip. Then I packed what I could carry, took what little money I'd hidden, and drove 12 hours to my sister's house. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, not even my mother. Victor had manipulated my family before, and I couldn't risk him finding me. For weeks, I lived in terror, jumping at every sound, checking the locks 3 times before bed, having nightmares that he'd found me. He did find me eventually, through social media, through mutual contacts, through the network he'd spent years building. He showed up at my sister's house with flowers and apologies, the same script he'd used for 3 years. Baby, please, I'll get help. I'll change. I can't live without you. I wanted to believe him. Part of me still loved the man I thought he was, but I'd stopped confusing promises with change. Don't come here again, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. If you do, I'll call the police. He left, but not before telling me I was making the biggest mistake of my life, that God would never bless me after breaking my vows, that I was damaged goods now. I filed for divorce the next week. Healing from abuse isn't linear. It's not a steady climb toward wholeness. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Good days and terrible days. Moments of strength followed by hours of weeping. I went to therapy. Real therapy. Not just Christian counseling that told me to forgive and submit. A professional who understood trauma and helped me unpack the beliefs that had kept me trapped. I learned that abuse isn't about anger management. It's about control. I learned that leaving is the most dangerous time for an abuse victim. Statistics show that's when violence escalates most. I learned that I wasn't weak for staying. I was surviving in the only way I knew how at the time. And I learned that God never asked me to be anyone's sacrifice. Christ already made the sacrifice. My job was to live abundantly, not to be destroyed in the name of covenant. 2 years later, my divorce was finalized 18 months ago. I have a new apartment now. Small, simple, mine. I decorated it with colors Victor would have hated, bright yellows and teals, and unapologetic life. I have a job, nothing glamorous, but it's mine. Every paycheck is proof that I can take care of myself. I have friends again, real ones who check in, who show up, who remind me that I'm worthy of love that doesn't bruise. I have my family back. My mother cried when she learned the truth about my marriage. "I wish you'd told me," she said. "I would have come for you." "I know, Mama. I wasn't ready." Most importantly, I have my faith back. A faith that no longer confuses suffering with sanctification. A God who weeps over broken bones, not one who demands I endure them. To every woman trapped in a home that hurts, your marriage is not more sacred than your life. God does not require you to be destroyed so your husband can maintain his image. Covenant is not license for abuse. Submission is not surrender to violence. If he's hurting you, you have permission to leave. Not permission from your pastor, your mother, or your church. Permission from the God who formed you in the womb and calls you precious. I stayed too long. I wore the bruises and believed the lies and prayed for change that never came. But God still rescued me, not in a lightning bolt, but in a whisper. Not through my husband's transformation, but through my own awakening. And if you're reading this, trapped like I was, please hear me. You are not alone. You are not crazy. You are not responsible for his violence. And there is a way out. Call the hotline. Make a plan. Tell someone you trust. And when you're ready, run. God will be waiting on the other side, not to condemn you for leaving, but to embrace you for surviving. You are worthy of safety. You are worthy of peace. Never let anyone convince you otherwise.